That's cool when your audio man's. Good evening, everyone. I'm Gene Bailey, and you are watching FlashPoint. Listen, I want to say I had a great weekend. I'm going to show you an update later. Spent the weekend, several days there in Southern California, and really enjoyed the weather before coming back to Texas, but met some great people. And listen, California, I'm really looking forward to coming there at the end of the month, the 28th and the 29th, right there in Los Angeles. Matthew Barnett, the Dream Center, and Angeles Temple. We'll talk more about that later, but I want to see you there. Not too late to register. Go online, fbarmy.com/events, and all of our events are there. Let us know you're coming. It'll be a great time. You're going to meet a lot of great people. One of the greatest things is meeting other FlashPoint Army people. When you meet other people, you find out just how many people believe and think the way you do. So you'll have a great time. All right, let me welcome in the panel tonight, Mark Meckler and Rick Green so far. Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome. First of all, Rick, I was at this event, and somebody came up. I sent you the video. Somebody came up with a Rick Green hat, and I tried to talk him out of wearing it. And Howell was very much an avid fan, and the next day he still had it on. So I don't know. I was trying to get him to wear a FlashPoint hat. He wouldn't do it.
That's because he doesn't get his check if he doesn't keep wearing the hat. It's about the money.
That's right.
Okay.
It's the endorsement, man. Don't you see those athletes out there? You know, they hold up the can of whatever it is, or they wear. That's how Constitution coaches are. They're like, man, we gotta advertise for FlashPoint and Patriot Academy. Usually they do both.
Yeah, usually they do.
And usually they got COS on there too, Mark. You know, so it's usually a threefer.
Yeah, they like to tell me.
How's a good one?
They like to tell me how qualified they are. They'll start with, I'm a FlashPoint Army member, I'm a Constitution coach, and I'm also part of Mark Meckler's team. So,
do they not also say stop picking on Rick and Mark so much? Usually they probably tell you that
too. Don't get any of that. Don't get any of that.
Man, I gotta slip more 20s to those guys.
Yeah, it's usually something about
because he doesn't pick on me, Rick. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, by the way, Gene, there's a lot of good FlashPoint people here right now at the campus we're doing our military veterans and Constitution Coach Congress. So we got a lot of mil vets from across the country. They're on the House floor right now. Actually, we just finished our session, and man, a lot of good FlashPoint people here. So they're learning the legislative process, and we're going to do a panel on how to run for office. A lot of them going to go home and run for office. So good stuff, man. We got a state senator and a state rep here that got involved because of FlashPoint and Patriot Academy.
Isn't that awesome? Keep up the good work. PatriotAcademy.com. All right, let's kind of dive into what's been going on since we last saw you Friday. Over the weekend, there's a shooting in D.C. Here's ABC's report. Watch.
Just last night, there was a shooting during a large gathering of teenagers in the Navy Yard. Our Christian Flores in that neighborhood tonight, pushing the MPD for answers, asking residents how they're feeling after another weekend of juvenile crime.
The signs are already up announcing Navy Yard as an extended juvenile curfew zone through Wednesday. This announcement coming just hours after MPD officials say a large group of juveniles were gathering out here Saturday night when one of them actually allegedly shot a gun. Now, nobody was hurt, luckily, but we are asking residents how they feel about not only this incident, but also about the curfew.
Well, it's gotten out of hand with the crime.
Those sirens echoing across Navy Yard shortly after gunshots rocked the community. MPD officers arrested a juvenile male, finding a stolen gun.
We heard some shots, some bangs. We've seen police officers running in all directions.
I almost feel a little desensitized to it in a way because it seems to be of the norm.
It's actually pretty scary that these teenagers own guns and that they are in the neighborhood shooting guns.
From 8 to 11 p.m. starting Sunday night and continuing through Wednesday, juveniles are prohibited from gathering in a group of 9 or more in Navy Yard as part of the curfew zone.
All right, so D.C. having issues. But, you know, Mark, I'll start with you. This is nothing new for Washington, D.C. It has constantly been an issue with crime.
Yeah, look, it fluctuates for sure, but it's declined dramatically over the 15 years that I've been going there for politics. And now it's one of the most dangerous cities in the country. It used to be limited to the quote unquote dangerous areas. Now every area of DC is a dangerous area. Everybody I know who lives there has experienced this. I have a son who lives just outside of DC. He says it's very dangerous, especially at night, but also during the day. And I think it's incredible that Donald Trump's going to do something about it. And I have a feeling we're going to see it change just like we saw on the border.
I think you're right. In fact, he said it's time to make D.C. safe again. Let me show you this from the bottom line. Violent crime in D.C. is staggering, but what is Trump going to do? Watch.
Violent crime in D.C. is staggering. Carjackings, beatings, shootings, murders, and, you know, much of it is juvenile violence, and it runs rampant because liberal authorities there care more about defending and coddling the criminals than actually protecting the innocent victims. I mean, you know, I go there frequently. It has devolved into a dystopian hellhole that's governed by this twisted mentality arising from the BLM ethos. The mayor, D.C. council, police, prosecutors all seem to think that criminals are the poor victims here, which, of course, is idiotic. D.C. is basically a ward of the federal government, so President Trump has every legal right to seize greater control and actually flood the zone with law enforcement and, importantly, put the U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro, in charge of prosecutions. No more soft on crime plea deals. They ought to give them maximum charges and then, you know, send the bad actors off to the hoosegow. So, gee, what a novel concept, enforcing the law, Lisa.
Novel concept indeed. In fact, let me show you, before you comment, Rick, I want to show you President Trump at his news conference saying about D.C. Watch.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
All right, so Rick, the real story here is not that there's crime in D.C. Of course, the shooting's horrible. It happens all the time, unfortunately. But he's going to federalize the whole police force. That's a big deal.
Yeah, Gene, the Home Rule Act he's talking about from 1973 starts off by saying that the whole act is subject to Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17 of the Constitution that gives the Congress, the federal government, exclusive jurisdiction over being able to legislate in D.C. D.C. is a very special place. It's not a state. It was never meant to be a state. It should never become a state. It's the seat of federal government. And the Constitution gives the power to Congress to govern that area. Now, that has kind of gone back and forth like a ping pong ball. In 1871, you had the Incorporation Act, which there's a lot of crazy conspiracy stuff out there that's not true about that Making America a corporation. That was incorporating like a city, D.C., to set up a civil government there. And then Congress took it back at one point and then gave it back. In 1973, they give it back. President Trump is 100% right to do what he's doing, but I'm actually asking for him to do more. You know, Meckler and I talk about this in Constitution Alive and Biblical Citizenship in Modern America and all our Constitution classes, that D.C. should be under the authority of a committee in Congress to oversee these things, and they should take it back completely and clean it up, wipe out the entire D.C. government, start over from scratch. Congress do its job under the Constitution in governing D.C., get it cleaned up, and then if you want to set up a new city government, fine. I don't even think they should do that. I think it should be under a committee in Congress. Now, Senator Mike Lee, who's one of the most constitutional guys in Congress, he's actually calling for something that happened back in the 1800s where some of the land was given back to Virginia. He's saying they should give back a big chunk of D.C. to Maryland. And in the same way, shrink D.C. to be a smaller area governed by the federal government. So that's a really interesting take that I'm curious about. I'd never thought about that. But constitutionally, absolutely, the president and Congress has the authority to do what they're doing.
All right, so Mark, speak to that. You know, this whole the whole possibility there, even all the way up to Maryland taking a big chunk of it back. How does that work budget-wise? Does it come under the people that live inside the Beltway? How do they pay for that? How does that really change other than just being in charge of it?
Yeah, look, I mean, they could leave the exact same tax structure in place if they wanted to. I think they could do it much cheaper. I don't normally say this about the federal government, but I think they could do it much more efficiently. The United States Capitol should be the model city in the United States of America. There should be virtually no crime. The streets should be safe and clean. The schools that are there should be the best schools in the country. And right now they are actually some of the very worst schools in the country. So instead of being the shining city on a hill, this is the city deep in a dark valley that sees no light. And I think the federal government needs to step in and completely take over. I agree with Rick. And I like Mike Lee's idea. I think a bunch of that city should just go back to Maryland. They should shrink the district down to what it needs to be for the governing part of that district. And that should be run by Washington, D.C. and Congress.
So let me ask you the bigger question, Mark. So why isn't D.C.? Why aren't there the best schools in the nation in D.C.?
Yeah, because it's a completely Democrat-dominated and run city, and it has been for decades. And you can look at almost every single completely Democrat-dominated city in the country, and they are a mirror of Washington, D.C. Crime is up, vagrancy is up, homelessness is up, prostitution is up, drug abuse is up, regular citizens don't feel safe. This doesn't matter. You could look at San Francisco or Boston or Philadelphia or New York, cities that are dominated by the Democrat establishment. They all look like this. So that's why now is the time when Trump's in power to take this away from the Democrats.
Rick, what do you think? You agree with that?
Yeah, man. No, Meckler's spot on. And look, it's simple principles of liberty. If you put socialist principles in place that violate the laws of nature and nature's God, you get these rundown cesspool cities. If you put the biblical principles of liberty in place that line up with the laws of nature and nature's God, you get prosperity and all the things that Mark said the national capital should be, all of those things. And it will be if we go back to implementing those timeless principles of liberty in those areas. You know, there are principles that work and principles that don't work. And unfortunately, the Democrats have adopted a socialist mindset. I mean, you look at Detroit and New York and all of these cities that used to be the most amazing cities on the planet. They look like they've been hit by atomic bombs. You look at even in Japan, you go to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where we had Deming and others go over there and infuse the principles of liberty, the timeless principles of liberty that work, and those cities look like futuristic, amazing cities. The principles work every time they're tried.
Well, certainly something to watch. I mean, those of us that don't live in D.C. and glad about it, what can we do other than pray this continues to go? Is there something we can do to help?
Yeah, look, I think that we can and should all speak out in favor of this. There's a natural narrative that goes against this, Gene, and we have to remember narrative sells. And the natural narrative is, well, don't you believe in home rule for the people in Washington, D.C.? Shouldn't they be able to elect their own officials? And that sounds appealing on the surface. And my answer is, yeah, I absolutely love that, as long as they govern themselves effectively and safely and securely, take care of the kids, take care of the streets, make sure it's a safe place for everybody in the country to come. When they won't do that, when they can't do that, that's when we have to move away from home rule.
Yeah, Rick, yeah. I mean, I'll give you a chance to comment there, because I think this makes sense to most Americans that are watching, whether you live in America or not. I think it makes sense for what we're talking about. So the reality is, though, and this is the point I'm trying to get to, is you think of all the money that's inside the Beltway there, all the money and the influence and all the income and all the influencers and everything that's in there, you would think that would exactly be the pristine, shining jewel of the states would be there in D.C. because everybody wanted to look the best. Everybody's visiting and dignitaries, diplomats, all that. You know, you would think that'd be the best. Why isn't it, Rick?
Well, because, Gene, and the Founding Fathers knew this. They saw this coming. It is treated different from any other piece of dirt or ground in the country. It is specifically carved out in the Constitution to be treated differently. And we can talk about a lot of those reasons. We don't have a lot of time tonight to talk about it, but I'll just point out it's because as the seat of federal government, there's a natural tendency that most of the people that are there on a daily basis, they are not allegiant to that area. In other words, their allegiances are back home wherever they're from. They might be from Dallas or from San Diego, or their families are back home in these states. It's literally a place where people go to do the business of government, right, but it's not necessarily where they're from. Unfortunately, that's changed over the years because we've grown government so much that you have all these supporting things, restaurants and everything else, where you do end up with people that live there. And we gave them the right to vote in the presidential election. We literally did a constitutional amendment, the 23rd Amendment, to give them the ability to choose president, to vote in the presidential election and have 3 votes in the Electoral College. But it is still a very different, unique place, and it should be treated differently and uniquely, and Congress should continue to be in charge of it. And it's going to take some special legislation to clean it up and right the ship. But I love Mark's description of what it should be. That should be our capital city. That should be, as he said, the cleanest, most beautiful place in the country. And I think that's only going to happen if Congress does its job under the Constitution here.
All right, something to continue to. We do our part to help with the narrative, like Mark was saying. All right, let's move along. The White House puts this out today. Historic peace deal for more than 35 years. Armenia and Azerbaijan have fought a bitter conflict that resulted in tremendous suffering. Many tried to find a resolution. They were unsuccessful. With this accord, we finally succeeded in making peace. Now, guys, this is bizarre. This, in a good way, bizarre of how many. I didn't even know he was meeting with them. I didn't know he was working on this deal. And this has been going on for many, many years. And to have struck this deal while the rest of us were sleeping is staggering.
It is. The man already deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. I hope he gets nominated for it. I hope he receives it. It's hard to imagine anybody deserving it more. But there's a reason, and I really think the reason that he's getting these things done is because he's a businessman first. He's not a politician. So he looks at things from an entirely different perspective. He goes to the warring parties and he says, look, there's an economic argument to be made here that you guys need to end this thing, and we need to bring prosperity to both of your countries. He makes promises to them to engage. In this case, there's going to be an American transportation corridor. So we're going to invest a bunch of money. We get rights to rare earth minerals in exchange for that. So we're going to make investment. They're going to have two prosperous countries. It's a win-win-win all the way around. And that's a different way of approaching these conflicts, I think, than any president has ever done.
Well, let me look at this. Let me show you this. Rapid Response 47 says the president of peace, to what you were just saying in that graphic right there. These are all the countries that he's worked on: Azerbaijan and Armenia, Cambodia and Thailand, Israel and Iran, Rwanda and Congo, India and Pakistan. Remember that one? That one was massive. That was like over 24 hours. Egypt and Ethiopia, Serbia and Kosovo, and the Abraham Accords. I mean, this is, Rick, this is a staggering amount. I mean, any one of those things in a presidency, you would be running that out and going, hey, look what we did, look what we did, look what we did. But all of that, and he hasn't even made a year yet.
I was looking for that. I think that's the one I saw last night or yesterday. And I was looking for that just now because I remember reading it last night and I was going, I didn't even know a lot of these conflicts were going on, let alone that Donald Trump was actually, working with the two parties for peace. So it's genuinely shocking. I think it's hard for people to it's hard for me to comprehend and believe that his team that he's put together has been able to go make these things happen. And then he's had the ability to go out there and meet with these parties while doing all the other things that he's doing as well. It's absolutely remarkable. And I think Mark put the finger on it. I mean, this is a unique guy. I mean, he brings to the table a unique skill set for being able to get the parties to the table to somehow, honestly, I think like we would not be as good at this as he is because we're almost too biased or partisan towards, some of these parties in these things. And he just has this uncanny ability to sit down with even people that we would say, man, that's the enemy. They're the ones that are doing wrong, and be able to say, okay, I get it, but why do you do what you do? What is it you really need in order to get this party to cut? He's just a master at it, man. The guy, I'm telling you, if he doesn't get actually, I don't even care about the Nobel Peace Prize. We just need to recognize what a great job he's done. As long as the American people continue to reward him and support what he's doing, that's what really matters. But it's shocking how many of these conflicts he's already solved.
And wait, that's not all. Look at what's happening. He posts a highly anticipated meeting between myself as President of the United States of America and President Vladimir Putin of Russia will take place next Friday, August 15th, the great state of Alaska. Further details to follow. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Here's him announcing that. Watch.
President Trump and Vladimir Putin set to meet in Alaska this Friday to discuss bringing an end to the war in Ukraine. White House is also trying to find time for a trilateral meeting to include Ukrainian President Zelensky. The president weighing in on the chances for a ceasefire. Watch this.
We have a shot at it. Look, it's got to be solved. We're not losing people. A lot of people say, why are you bothering? We're not losing people. We were spending hundreds of billions of dollars. Now we're spending nothing. We're spending no money. I guess we're making money because, we're great. We have the best military equipment in the world. We're selling it to NATO. But you're losing thousands of people a week, Russians and Ukrainians mostly.
President fresh off brokering another peace deal in the last few days, facilitating an agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan, ending decades of fighting there. Let's bring in Michigan Congressman Bill Huizenga. He is a member of the House Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committees. Congressman, with your Foreign Affairs hat on here for just a moment, I do want to get your take on this upcoming meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin. We haven't seen Putin on U.S. soil in a decade, since Barack Obama was the U.S. president. Do you think that it's a good idea to have this meeting on U.S. soil? And also, there are many that say that you're going to have to get Zelensky in these discussions somehow. That process is still ongoing. Your reaction?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Eventually, we do need to make sure that Volodymyr Zelensky is a part of this directly. But it seems like we've got a few things to sort out with Russia ourselves. And the fact that that is going to be on U.S. soil is symbolic in my mind. And I applaud the president for that. You know, there's a lot of people who say, well, the president can't do that or he can't get it done. And I think we're seeing time and time again that he is moving discussions forward, if not solving them, as you were talking about in the lead in with Azerbaijan and Armenia. He is taking a far more serious role on foreign affairs than I think a lot of people thought he would.
All right, Mark, your thoughts on this is a huge meeting. I read somewhere tonight before we went on the air that he is saying he'll know very quickly if Putin is really interested in peace or not.
Yeah, look, I do think it's important for him to get face-to-face with Putin, and so he can take the measure of the man and judge him and whether he thinks he's being told the truth or not. I also think that Putin is newly motivated. I mean, he's been stalled out for a long time. He's got a lot of casualties. His entire economy is now wrapped up in a wartime economy. That makes it difficult for average people. And I also think this new truce or new treaty between Armenia and Azerbaijan has them a little bit rattled. Those are two countries that have been in the Russian orbit, pre-Russia, the Soviet orbit for a long time. They are now moving towards the West and working with the United States of America. That's something Vladimir Putin won't like at all. And so he sees the balance tipping away from him. I think he knows it's time he has to get serious.
I believe you're right. Well, let's go to Israel. Look at this. Jerusalem Post post this today. Israel military kills Hamas terrorist, doubling as Al Jazeera reporter near Shifa Hospital. Now, let me explain this. Middle Eastern, to most of you, don't understand. If you've never been to the Middle East or understood the way things are done there, we're not talking about a war that's lasted a few years. You're talking about this is what their whole lives have been war and then turmoil and issues. Some of them don't even know why they're fighting. But in light of all of that, we have to understand our role in what's going on there. When I say our role, I mean everything from the media to what you say, what pastors say at a church. It's crucial that we get the facts before we start relaying it. And now more than ever with AI and everything else, it's frighteningly easy to be mistaken and to get something wrong. This is why we put people in the field when we can. And our friend Paul Petit has a story right now to help you understand just how seedy the media really is. Watch.
My newest installment of Gaza Wood. I want to show you how the largest news source in the world works. It's called AP News, Associated Press. I'm here in Israel, by the way, so I'm not just pulling this stuff out of thin air. You can see the press flak jacket behind me and this handy dandy helmet in case you go out and do the story. So I'm here based in Jerusalem right now. Something I noticed when using a lot of the AP sources when I was doing the stories in Israel, and I've been doing this for the last few weeks now. Let's take a look at their website. This is where news people, journalists all over the world grab their video, grab their sound bites, grab their audio for the stories they are doing. And AP, the #1 service in the world, this is basically where they get all their content. Now I want to pay close attention to, what type of stories AP puts on their site for the journalist to grab. Here's one example, the story here that I just clicked on, a story titled Israeli Strike on Shelter. And so they're saying that Israel fired a missile and somebody was killed. And that's the story, plain and simple. But then if you look at the soundbite of that story, it actually comes from a person identified as a Palestinian news source. Well, guess what? Palestinian news source is basically Hamas, okay? They're controlled by Hamas, and they are told what to report, what not to report, and if they report what that's not wanted to be reported by Hamas, they risk their lives. All right, case number 2. We're going to go down a little bit further, and you're going to see another story. This is about a journalist, an Al Jazeera journalist that was killed by Israel. Okay, another story demonizing Israel, when in fact this journalist that we're talking about is a Hamas operative posing as somebody from the press that disseminates videos, audio stories to Al Jazeera, again, gets broadcast all over the world. So what you have is a launching pad of left-wing liberal media constantly being used by media across the globe. Here's what drove that home even harder. When I went to the AP news source to find the video of the hostages, remember that from just last week? These were the hostages, Israeli hostages. Couldn't find it. Wasn't on the news source. Couldn't download the video. Nothing. Zip. It's called omission. Controlling the media by omitting it. I couldn't find it anywhere. But if I need something that shows starvation, if I need the latest missile strike, if I need somebody that they say was hit and struck by Israel, all over. And there's your news. Brought down from a global level that you're looking at right here through AP, brought to you and your home wherever you live in the U.S., and they basically take what's given them via AP, the network, and then disseminate it out to you. What's it filled with? Propaganda, half-truths, lies. And it's just coming and coming and coming, and the media just keeps taking it and taking it and taking it in and giving it to you. And the worst part, making it sound as it's fact. Do your homework.
Yeah, do your homework indeed. Now, let me say this. When we started Victory News, when I was with the Victory Channel, and we started Victory News, we subscribed to the AP service, just like every other journalistic agency or TV station network did. We soon figured out we were not getting the full story because it's just, and I'm glad Paul showed it to you, all the stories are lined out there for you to get the latest news. We were not getting stories about COVID. We were not getting stories about the death. Everything was written, everything, the video, it was eerily vacant from their news path. Then you realize, remember all those videos we've shown you, Rick, of everybody, all these news stations saying the exact same script over and over and over and over. It's because they all got it, a lot of them, probably from the AP, right. Allegedly. So I'm telling you, this is very true. Everything from the photographs to the videos to the stories themselves. This is why it's so important where you get your news. Rick, thoughts?
Yeah, and it's I mean, we said Orwellian so many times during COVID that I hate even using the word, but I mean, it feels like the Ministry of Truth in the 1984 book and the ability to control everything that people are going to see or hear. And this is why we went to the mat in 2020 to fight the control and to say we're going to have alternative news sources. We're going to have alternative programs that people can get so that they can't use that propaganda on all of the people. That doesn't mean we're going to be able to reach maybe, the masses, but at least we can reach the people within our sphere and within our own, tribes. That's why Victory News became so important. It's why FlashPoint exploded, because people were able to find truth. They saw how transparent we were and how they were able to get that truth, and why it's going to be so important in the future, Gene. I mean, I think what you're doing with FlashPoint is critical. What we're doing at Patriot Academy with Patriot U and the Tavern, what Mark's doing with all of his programming, these outlets are vital for the future. So the fight that we had, the fact that Elon Musk bought Twitter and kept it free and kept us being able to speak truth on that channel, that was a linchpin moment for saving freedom of speech. And so it's not just with the Israeli story, it's with all of our news that it's going to be absolutely critical. So, I'm just thankful to God for FlashPoint and for these outlets. But, man, that battle is I think we're just in the beginning of that battle, and what Paul just showed tells you why.
That's right. Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, just in the last week, we've seen so many stories out of Israel that are completely and totally false. You had the story of the starving children where they were actually holding up babies that had cerebral palsy and other horrible congenital defects. Well, off screen, just slightly off screen, are well-fed children. The mother looks well-fed. We saw more than one of those stories. We saw the story of the quote-unquote journalist who was killed. There's also photos of him as an actual terrorist carrying weapons around. But they paint him as a journalist. There's also a huge story and expose, where the photo shows a bunch of Palestinians with pots, like holding out pots like they're desperate for food. And when you draw back, there's pictures of that story where that photo is set up. The photographer that's there is known to set up these photos. It's not a real photo. This is over and over and over again. The media does this, the AP does this, but it's done broadly. It's known by the mainstream media. It's not like they're innocently consuming this stuff. They understand the bias, and they are happy to spread that bias.
Yeah, it's intentional.
Yep, that's right.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. But when we come back, I want to talk to you about, would you believe if I told you that a group like Moms for Liberty would be labeled in a police training manual as extremist. We're going to talk to Tina Descovich, Moms for Liberty, right after the break. Don't go away.
It's breathtaking. A tsunami of darkness threatens to wash away all we hold dear if we don't act now. In Killing America, Turning the Tide on the Tsunami of Darkness, Gene and Terry Bailey bring hope, help, and chart a course that leads to America's restoration and renewal. Don't wait. Get your copy at killingamericabook.com and counter the tsunami of darkness with a deluge of everlasting light.
The War Room is calling. Join the FlashPoint War Room, a powerful community of believers standing together in prayer, unity, and bold support. Get exclusive updates on what God is doing right now through this movement. Stand in faith, stand for truth, and stand with FlashPoint as we press into what God is doing in this season. Whether you're a pastor, intercessor, or a passionate viewer, this is your call to action. Go to fparmy.com and join the War Room today.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gene Bailey. You're watching FlashPoint.
It's official. FlashPoint is now 4 nights a week. You can catch us every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. More news, more encouragement, more opportunities to stand for truth. Don't miss a moment.
What you guys do, it's immeasurable.
Make sure you go online and share this with all of your friends, your family, even people you don't know.
FlashPoint, always to the right of center.
FlashPoint Live is coming to Angelus Temple in Los Angeles, California, August 28th and 29th. Join Gene Bailey and his guests, Matthew Barnett, Lorenzo Sewell, Rick Green, Luke Ball, Ed Rush, and many more for 2 breakthrough nights of bold commentary, news, and spiritual insight. Register for this free event at fparmy.com/California. August 28th and 29th, West Coast. Now's the time to be bold and stand for truth.
Welcome back to the second half. Listen, we were in California. You know, we came live last Thursday night from California as I was attending Turning Point USA Faith Forward Pastors Summit. There, I got it all right. I want to show you a quick clip. This is encouraging. We met a lot of great people out there. Here's a quick recap of what happened this past weekend. Hey guys, I am here with Terry right here in California at the Faith Forward Conference, Pastors Conference. Listen, it's been amazing. It's great to rub shoulders with pastors who are doing what God's called them to do as pastor. We've been encouraged, we've been edified, we've been built up, we've been challenged. The key word so far is to be bold and to stand up. So that's what we're doing. It's been a great week so far. Can't wait to get back in there. Speaking later today, talking about how we stand up in the media.
I was just telling Gene, thank you for continuing to believe what the Lord spoke prophetically about the man that he has leading our country. And I think there was a time where many people backed off and they stopped believing that God had this prophetic purpose. Thank you for willing to put your head way above the foxhole and take hits. Right now, we are seeing that God's purposes are being fulfilled in this nation. And I think our best days are yet to come. I don't believe the end is like right now. We have a lot of work to do.
Yes, we have a lot of work to do. Great time there. And listen, we met so many great people. Thank you guys for including us. We talked about the media and just exactly what we just covered before the break, how it's important where you get your news. And I believe now, FlashPoint is a little bit different than some of the other media outlets because we're going to give you the commentary right along with the news story. There are others that are just going to give you the news story. That's great. If you want commentary, you want to get our take on stuff, that's why you come to FlashPoint. Thank you for doing that. All right, let me show you this. First off, Christian Post, which is a little sketchy magazine, but I'll go ahead and quote them here. Police training materials label Moms for Liberty as an extremist group. With me now, CEO and co-founder Moms for Liberty, Tina Descovich. Tina, thank you for joining us. Kind of go back to what Moms for Liberty, how did that start? What was that about?
We are a grassroots nonprofit organization, I'd say the largest on the ground, defending parental rights at all levels of government. We launched in 2021. We're moms and dads, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins that are frustrated with the education system in America and with government overreach into our families.
So how did you get from that to being an extremist group?
Well, I would say we have been highly effective, and we were highly effective right out the gate. And so the powers that be, teachers unions, the Biden administration, the DOJ at the time, the FBI, the Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education, all came after us, guns ablazing, I would say, threat tags, FBI calls, all the things that you can imagine were piled on us. And when none of that worked by 2023, the SPLC visited the White House 6 times, leading up to them declaring us an anti-government extremist group, which label they tried to stick on us that hasn't stuck very well until now.
Wow. Here's a clip about the Massachusetts police labeling you guys as a hate group. Watch.
Parental rights group Moms for Liberty is speaking out after claiming that the Massachusetts Police Training Manual labels their organization as a hate group on the same level as Antifa and neo-Nazis. Citing the Southern Poverty Law Center, the manual says that, quote, members use parents' rights as a vehicle to attack public education and make schools less welcoming for minority and LGBTQ plus students. Moms for Liberty co-founder Tina Descovich here to discuss. Tina, look, let's face it. We've reported on it. We've had you on talking about it. You get a lot of hate from the left. But do you ever think that hate would make it into a police training manual, which one would assume is kind of like right down the middle, unbiased? Here's how you police. Here's how you fire a gun. Here's how you arrest the suspect. It just seems wild to me that you're included.
Yeah, as CEO and co-founder of Moms for Liberty, it's very concerning to me that the people that have been charged with protecting us and keeping us safe have been trained. We've seen the manual and the presentation that was given during the training. They have been trained that we are a threat, that we are a danger, and that's very concerning to the safety of my members.
So, Tina, how is it that, what are they so concerned about? Moms for Liberty doesn't sound like a ultra right-wing, crazy group of people with guns. So what is it their beef with you that causes them to say that you're an extremist group?
There is a lot of misinformation about our organization. As I said, we're moms and dads. We're concerned about education in America. Only 1/3 of American 4th graders are reading on grade level. That's criminal in my estimation. It's a threat to our country. And there are people that don't want that exposed. And so they have come after us with everything. I do not think the ordinary police in Massachusetts think we are a threat. They've gone to our moms that are leaders there in Massachusetts and said, keep going. We're moms and dads too, and we have the same concerns. We can't speak up because of our jobs. So thank you for standing. Thank you for speaking up. But those that are creating the training, that Massachusetts Municipal Police Association that are putting together these trainings for over 20,000 police across the state of Massachusetts. All of the new recruits, when they're trained at police academies, are receiving this training. They're aligned with the SPLC. And they not only took what the SPLC said, the SPLC labeled us as an anti-government extremist group. The state training states that we are an actual hate group, which takes it to, another level.
So, Rick, let me ask you, I know it still seems to me to be a bit bizarre why they would do that. How does a group like the SPLC have that much influence over police training manuals?
Well, let me first be very clear for the record. Tina Descovich and Moms for Liberty are a dangerous threat to radical extremists who want to indoctrinate and groom children in our communities across this country. And I am thankful for such a dangerous threat to such horrible things that have been happening in our country. Tina and her group have been willing to step up, stand up, literally be called every name in the book in order to stop this sexualization of our children and the destruction of our school system across the country. So thank God for them, and we're thrilled to partner with them every chance we get. How they manage to do this, that's the Marxist way, man. They take over these institutions, they take over these organizations, and then SPLC and, they put out their hate, mongering. They did it to Family Research Council. They did it to us at Patriot Academy, to Wall Builders, to any organization that stands up for truth, that doesn't allow them to groom children and doesn't allow them to normalize what were considered literally mental illnesses just 15 minutes ago. Anybody that stands up to that, they call them a hate group, when actually we're the most loving of any of the organizations out there, because we love our country and we love the people in these communities, and we love children, and we're trying to protect them. So, I love the fact, and you can just see it in Tina right now, even as you're interviewing her, doesn't bother her a bit. That's the kind of warriors you have to stand up to this. It rolls off her back and she gets right back in the fight. And we've had her moms out here at Patriot Academy, and they're the same way. She's got some warriors on the ground all over this country. That's why they've grown from, in just, 4 years, Tina, to hundreds of thousands of people across the country that are involved. Wonderful. So it's remarkable. But I don't think it works anymore. I think the left has that playbook that they've used. I think it's advertising for our organizations, because just like Tina said, a lot of those police officers are going, wait a minute, they're trying to stop the sexualization of my kids and the other kids at the local public school? I'm with you. Let's go. So anyway, it's backfiring on the SPLC, I believe.
All right. So Tina, tell me about this summit you've got, and why should we care? What do we need to get from this summit that you're doing?
It's our 4th annual national summit. It is the largest gathering of parents across the country. There's so much training going on. There's breakout sessions, main stage speakers. We bring in experts, people from the administration now. We didn't the last time, of course. Historically, we've had President Trump, Governor Ron DeSantis. We've had Dennis Prager, Glenn Beck. We've had your own Rick Green last year on stage. And so we just bring together conservatives from all across the country, sharing, digging deep into a lot of the issues that are happening, that are facing our kids, that are happening in education and across the country. And so we hope everyone will join us. It's October 16th through the 19th this year in Orlando, Florida.
All right. So they should come, even though Rick is Rick speaking again this year?
We haven't talked about that yet, but
okay.
I'll be making a call as soon as the show ends.
Yeah, maybe not. Might get more people.
I can't tell if that's an endorsement. Like if Jean says don't have me, that's probably more likely that she'll have me, I think. I think that would help. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I love the fact that you said one key word. You said training, and that's what is crucial. We all need training. So, okay, Moms for Liberty, is it just for women, just for moms?
Not at all. We have moms, dads, grandparents, activists, aunts, uncles, you name it. If you're concerned about the future of this country, our national summit is the place for you. And we hold all types of trainings. We have media training, how to speak to the media and shape the narrative, training on how to run for school board. There isn't a whole lot of how to run for school board trainings across the country. And we've kind of mastered that at Moms for Liberty. So we'll give you that training, how to campaign, how to do FOIA, public records requests, and get the information you need out of your school district. So there's all types of training.
That's excellent. Excellent. Okay. And there's the address, momsforliberty.org/summit25. What do you think, Mark? I think we should send Rick to get for some training.
Well, I think she could definitely help him out, professionalize his image a little bit. But I just got to say, when you got mama bears like this in the fight with us, guys like us don't have to worry. And when these women took to the field, when they came out in force as a united force and started fighting at these school board meetings and started really pushing back, that's actually the first time that I felt like, okay, we're going to win, because this is a cultural force to be reckoned with. And if you want to see the most ferocious people in politics, it's when they come after your kids and then the moms step up. There's just an entirely different level of intensity that comes out and comes into play. And I mean that in the most professional sense. And that's what we've got with groups like this coming onto the political playing field. And it's why you see them exploding so quickly, because they're fighting for something that is so righteous, the most righteous thing, which is the ability to protect and care for, educate, and assist our own children.
That's amazing. Okay, Tina, give you last couple minutes before Rick tries to take your time.
I was going to say something good about the conference, Gene. Listen, it's like a FlashPoint event. You know how when you leave a FlashPoint live event, you have that camaraderie and that optimism? That's how we felt last year at the Moms for Liberty conference. So it's very much an iron sharpening iron kind of event as well. Tina, tell him to behave.
He really does want to come. You can tell. Tina, I'll give you a chance here. Speak to the camera and encourage people to come. Where is the conference at? Where's the conference?
It's at the Gaylord Palms in Orlando, Florida. I was just there this past weekend for another event, and it's exceptional. Bring your families. They will enjoy the break and the vacation. Rick, I appreciate the good words and the shout out. We enjoyed having you and your lovely daughter last year performing her musical number on Sunday morning. This year on Sunday, we're going to be forward looking to America 250 celebrations and discussing the Constitution, our founding document, celebrating our founding fathers. And so it's really going to be an action-packed 4 days. Our theme this year is Our Future is Bright. We've had a few dark years in America, 2020 to 2024, but 2025 and beyond is exciting and bright. We're hopeful. Thank you, Mark, for the shout out on the moms. You are correct. There is no one that will fight like a mom for her child. And we do that at Moms for Liberty. And we do it. We like to say we fight like heck, but we do it with a smile on our face because we love our children and we know that they are watching. And so we're going to bring that joy to our Joyful Warriors National Summit in October. And we hope you all will join us.
Amen. All right, here's a picture. Since you mentioned Rick and his daughter, I like his daughter, so we'll put that picture up and show. There they are at the last one. Go through some of the other pictures you got here of the summit. I think you got a few more here. You can just kind of scroll through them if you got them. There's Byron Donalds. You got some, of course, Christine Holm. You got some great, Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, you got some great people there coming to speak.
Yeah, that was all last year's summit. In 23, we had 5 of the Republican presidential candidates there. It is the place to be, if you ask me. People are willing to come. They want to be around the joyful spirit, the hopeful spirit, the spirit of America you can find at the Moms for Liberty Summit. And so we invite all to come out, momsforliberty.org/summit25. You can get your tickets today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Tina, for being a part. All right, let's go back up and pick up with what has happened in Texas. Now, let me say this, ladies and gentlemen. I was in Los Angeles flying back, and guess who was on my flight? Maxine Waters. So, full disclosure, I approached her, asked to talk to her, and was promptly turned down. So, Maxine, I gave you a shot. It could have been the FlashPoint shirt I was wearing. I don't know. But she did not want to talk to me. She wouldn't talk and kind of made a little bit of scene on the plane. But anyway, Maxine Waters, we reached out. You wouldn't talk to us. Let's talk about what's happening with Governor Abbott and special sessions. Listen to what he's going to do. Watch.
So first, this could literally last years because in Texas, I'm authorized to call a special session every 30 days. It lasts 30 days. And as soon as this one is over, I'm going to call another one, then another one, then another one, then another one. If they show back up in the state of Texas, they will be arrested and taken to the Capitol. Now, if they want to evade that arrest, they're going to have to stay outside of the state of Texas for literally years. And they might as well just start voting in California or voting in Illinois, wherever they may be. And that will aid and support the lawsuit that I filed in the Texas Supreme Court saying that these lawmakers have abandoned their seat because we are incapable of conducting business for the people of Texas because they have fled. This is the most un-Texan thing we've ever seen. In Texas, from the time of the Alamo until today, Texas stand and fight. What these cowards did, they didn't stand and fight. They fled and went to leftist blue states that may be more aligned with their personal philosophy that is not welcome in the state of Texas.
All right, so I told you last week this is going to be a big deal. All eyes are on Texas. Mark, Rick, you know who should be the most upset about them? The people that voted to put them in there because they left. They left and didn't stand and didn't talk about what they wanted to take, give them the vote that they wanted to vote. But instead, they abdicated their position and left town. What do you think is going to happen next, Mark? You think this is a standoff, Mexican standoff, Texican standoff? What's going to happen?
No, I think it's going to continue to escalate. Governor Abbott has asked Ken Paxton, our Attorney General, to take this to the Supreme Court. He has filed a brief in the Supreme Court already, asking that the Supreme Court authorize the removal of these members from office, at least 12 of them so far. And I'm hoping that they do that. I do believe they've abdicated their duty. They are trying to shut down the operation of government. That's something they're not allowed to do. And so they're doing it by breaking quorum. So I think this is going to continue to escalate. He's also imposed $500 a day fines. It's a lot of money for folks in the Texas legislature that don't make much money. They've also attacked Beto O'Rourke's organization that was funding much of this and probably assuring these Democrats that they weren't going to pay the price. But now they are accusing him of potentially a bribery for doing this to get a legislative act or a non-act. So I think the pressure is going to continue to come to bear, and eventually they're going to come back to the Capitol and they're going to lose the vote after they've been totally humiliated and embarrassed.
Yeah, this is a big deal. I'm glad you brought it up. Beto, Rick, the guy just can't get any ground here in Texas, and that's good. That's a good thing. We don't want him. We don't want his brand of politics. But the fact, this is usually where the conservatives fall apart, and they don't push it through. And now we're seeing to take this through and actually shut it down to the point, like you said, of bribery. Mark, Rick, what does that say for Texas politics?
It's a new season, man. I we've said this on the program a lot over the last 4 years. Courage is contagious. And that clip you just played of Governor Greg Abbott makes me proud to be an American. And I've been a critic of Abbott at times and supported him at times, depending on what was happening. And I'm telling you, Donald Trump's courage, his boldness, his ability to take on the tough fights and do the things he's done for the last 6 months has caused other Republicans across the country to become even more courageous. I would argue Ron DeSantis's courage over the last 4 years was part of what sparked a lot of this.
That's right.
But that Greg Abbott right there that you just showed, I'll march into battle with that guy any day of the week. I'll support him, what he's done with getting school choice done in Texas, with standing his ground right here. This is, I haven't seen this ability to say what he is saying and team up with Paxton to really go after these cowards that have fled the state. It's unprecedented, and not because their running is not unprecedented, right? We talked about that last week, the history of Democrats.
They've done it
in 2021 and 2003 and in 1991 and 1981, all the way back to 1870. They've done it forever. I've never seen anybody stand up to him like this. So the fact that he's saying, I'm going to call special session after special session, we'll do this for the next 5 years if we need to, and to embolden Paxton as Attorney General to do what he's doing. This bodes well, not just for Texas's future. I think other governors are going to catch this boldness. And again, not to rehash everything we talked about last week, this is absolutely constitutional for the Republicans to do this. This is just playing catch up to what the Democrats have done in all these states. I have laughed, Gene, over the last week, all these press conferences of Hochul and Newsom and Pritzker. We're going to do the same thing. Well, you already did it for the last 20 years, so they're not going to be able to squeeze out a single additional Democrat district if they call their special session. We're just barely catching up. And Governor Abbott even pointed that out. He said if we went so far as they went, we would be getting 10 more Republican seats, not 5 more. We're just leveling the playing field. So anyway, it's really, really encouraging. Courage is contagious. Let's hope this goes down to the local level as well in our local governments in the next phase of this courage.
Yeah, and in that, you mentioned what this will say. I think there's a lot of governors watching this to see that are conservative. Maybe they're not even conservative. They're watching to see how this is going to play out. This plays out the way we want it to play out. It's going to swing a lot of stuff in the future. However, in the last 3.5 minutes, not all is rosy here in America, and we still have some ground to cover. You and I know that. We got some things to talk about. But I want to show you this. Cynthia Erivo's demonic portrayal of Jesus prompts outrage, intentional blasphemy. Now, you see her there with the long fingernails. This portraying Jesus in, this was the Hollywood Bowl over the weekend, mocking Jesus Christ Superstar. This shows you. Now, let me say this, Mark. A lot of the purpose of doing that is to create turmoil and, there's something bad. And, it just makes more people watch. And as if they had just done a normal rendition of the Jesus Christ Superstar. But instead, they make that this hideous thing that they came out with. But this is what the left does. This is what they do. And this is why it's so important that we stand up, Mark.
Yeah, look, this is just plain evil. It's an attack on Christianity. The simple question is, what would the response be? And would you ever see a show produced that's this blasphemous featuring the Prophet Muhammad, the alleged Prophet Muhammad? The answer is no, of course not, because Islam would rise up and people would die. but because Christianity is a tolerant religion, they're going to stomp all over us. They're going to put their boots on our throat. But I also am hopeful about this, Gene, because the church is always best when persecuted. This is open persecution. We are the strongest when we're persecuted. We hold our spine stiff. We go out and we do the things that we should do boldly when we're persecuted. So I don't ever mind this kind of stuff. I think it garners the right kind of reaction in the church community worldwide.
Marco Rubio said the same thing. I don't have time for the clip, but he said almost verbatim the same thing. All right, Rick, we got like 30 seconds, 45 seconds once you begin to wrap it up for us.
Yeah, I just say exactly what Mark said, and don't forget that the arts is one of the left's strongest strongholds, if you will. That's how they influenced the culture and ended up taking over other areas of the culture, was through the arts and movie and entertainment and music and all those things. So this is an area that they know, that they have to fight for and defend. And I think Mark said it exactly right. I mean, this is where we can fight back with our dollars. We should boycott organizations that do this kind of blasphemy. It's not something I think the government should stop, but we should make sure that our dollars are not going to support those things, and that certainly zero government dollars support anything like that. And it does bring Christians together, and it makes a lot of pastors stand up and realize, you know what, I need to speak to the culture. I've been ignoring it, and this is the kind of thing that happens. So hopefully it shakes some people out of their slumber. That's one of the positive things that can come from it.
Amen. All right. I want to say a special thank you to Tina Descovich from Moms for Liberty, of course, Martin Meckler, Rick Green. Join us tomorrow night with Ed Rush, Doug Sheets, Rick Green, and Lance Wallnow will be here. Hopefully Ed is actually going to be here in studio with us. Should be an interesting time tomorrow night as we check in with him. And I know a lot of you guys, you're still asking about the plant. I'm sure he'll have an update. Thank you for watching. Make sure you stay in touch with us, fparmy.com, for all the latest. And listen, don't forget, the FlashPoint Television Network is launched, and more information coming soon about that. Stations are being added. I look forward to seeing you there.
Hello, FlashPoint Army. Because I continue to speak out against stolen elections and going to hand-counted paper ballots, MyPillow has become the most attacked company in history. But by the grace of God and your support so far, we've been making it through. And to thank you, you can now save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. From our famous MyPillows and our Percale and Giza bed sheets to products you don't even know we have. We actually have over 200 products, so there's something for everyone, like Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks, the best coffee ever, My Coffee. Check out our kitchen line, from kitchen towels, oven mitts, aprons, pot holders, and so much more. We also have men's and women's clothing, loungewear, sleepwear, athletic wear, and of course, my slippers, sandals, and slides. We have health products, something for your pets, body pillows, mattresses, toppers, blankets, couch pillows, comforters, duvets, and so much more. So go to mypillow.com or call 800-975-4719. Use promo code FLASH to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. This is a very special offer for the FlashPoint Army because of your continued support. Thank you and God bless.